Hey guys, what's up? Vicarious Nick here, and today we're actually going to be looking at the Oculus Quest 2. Now, I'm going to be talking about why I like it so much, why I've been having an absolute blast with it, and why I personally think you should go out and buy it right now. So, as you can see, we got a top-down view here of the headset, and I have the controllers on my desk, and I'll also show it to this camera as well. But essentially, I just wanted to go over the few major things and major selling points as to why I personally think, as of right now, if you're going into VR, if you're trying to get into VR, you're brand new to it, you've never attempted it before, you've never wanted to really go over that huge leap into the VR. And what I mean by that is, for the past like 7 years, VR has been a very niche market. It's been very difficult to even get into. Not only do you have to spend $500 to $1,000 for a headset and the controllers and the sensors, but you need a space to do it. You need an entire room to set up all your sensors and all that stuff and your cable management. But you also need a gaming PC. You need a computer that can be powerful enough to run the games that will work properly on a VR headset. Obviously, that market was extremely small. Yes, over these past few years, that market has been getting bigger and bigger because more people in the mainstream have gaming PCs, more than just gaming consoles, which is great. But it still comes down to the amount of space you would need for the sensors to build into your room for a VR space, and you would also still need the money to buy a headset on top of your gaming PC. A lot of people, including myself, they've already put thousands of dollars into a PC. You probably don't want to spend another grand on just a VR headset, because a lot of people will look at a VR headset and say it's a niche market, it's a gimmick, it's just a fad, it'll die out in a couple of years. Personally, I'm on the fence of that. I think VR is still growing. It's ever growing. I think it's going to be in everybody's living rooms by the next 5 years. I really do think that. And the Quest 2 is just another great indication of that becoming the truth. Now, what I mean by this is that for $300, yes, that's right, $299 in the US, you can get the complete headset, controllers, and be ready to go. You don't need a gaming PC. You don't need sensors or a giant VR room. I would recommend it probably a living room, but everyone has one of those. You don't need to actually set up anything. You literally take it out of the box, you put it on your head, you adjust the focal length, and you turn it on. And that's it. You are ready to go. You are in VR. Now, yes, you do have to still purchase some games, but there's a ton of free alternatives out there from the Oculus Store to get into the VR space and have a great time with it. Now, that being said, that is just scratching the surface of what the Quest 2 can do. Before we get into the games and all that, I just want to talk about the design. So looking at the design of the headset, we have obviously a full white design. I don't know if they came out in any different colors. There might be a black out there, I'm not sure. But from what you get, it's all white. It's a very clean looking device. It doesn't look too complicated. There's not many buttons or anything on there either. Going around the device, on the left side here, we have a port for the charging cable, which is just a USB-C, pretty nice, easy. And then as you can see, I have a cable plugged into it right now, which actually is a battery pack that is made by Oculus. It's a separate accessory. I highly recommend it though, because not only is it an extra battery pack to keep it living longer on your head for extended play sessions, but it also makes it more comfortable overall. What it does is add this band on the back that actually turns into just a dial that you twist it to get it tighter on your head or looser on your head, depending on your head shape. And then it's just one little strap on top. Much, much easier, highly recommended over the one that comes pre-installed. Now again, at that point, you're spending $400 for the entire setup, but I still think it's worth it 100%, because for 400 bucks, you're still $100 or more cheaper than the alternatives that need a gaming PC to work. Again, I will reiterate, this one does not need a gaming PC. It is strictly 100% wireless, and you don't need any sensors. So no sensors involved. All these sensors are built into the headset itself with these little cameras, as you can see all around it. And they actually look at your room and essentially scan your surroundings for you. And they also scan the controllers. So the controllers are pretty simple. They're the exact same controllers the Rift has been using for the past 5 or 6 years, and they work great. My only gripe with them, honestly, is that they use batteries. They don't have a rechargeable battery for some reason. It's probably to cut down on costs for sure, but I really do wish there was a version that came with actual rechargeable batteries that you could just plug the headset and the controllers in at the same time and you'd be ready to go.
Bruh.
That being said, that's how you get it off. It's just a magnet, but it just uses one AA battery per controller, so pretty minimal. And that being said, even though it uses one AA battery, it lasts for quite a while. I have to admit, these will last for at least a month, if not longer. Of course, depends on your usage. Now, if you're like me and you use your VR probably 3-4 times a week, yeah, you'll probably get about a month, maybe 2 months of use out of these before having to recharge them or obviously swap them out. But if you use your VR pretty seldomly, you'll easily get 4 months out of them, no problem. And again, that's one AA battery per controller, so pretty damn good. But the design is the exact same from the Rift. I mean, on the top, you have the regular X and Y buttons on the left controller, the analog stick and the menu button. And then on the right, we have the A and B buttons, analog and a menu button. On the sides, we have the grips, and on the back, we have the triggers. So all in all, pretty simple, but an extremely ergonomic and great feeling controller in the hand. And this ring around it is actually not just for looks. It actually has sensors built into it to track your fingers. So if you lift your finger off the analog or off the buttons in the VR space, it will show that happening. Very unique, very cool, and something you have to experience for yourself to really understand what I'm getting at when it comes to finger tracking. Speaking of finger tracking, the headset itself actually does track your hands without controllers. I want to say it's still kind of in beta. I don't think it's a for sure like full-fledged feature set yet, but it works. It's pretty cool. So when you're in the actual Oculus space, you can use just your hands and actually type on a keyboard or swipe away things or select. And so far, I've only been able to get it to work inside of the Oculus VR headset. I don't think I've gotten to work inside of the Steam VR area, but then again, I never really tried it. It could be possible, and you could tell me in the comments below if I am wrong, but from right now, I would only recommend using it within the Oculus space. Again, coming back to the design of the headset itself. So again, we have the USB-C charging port, and then we also have a little 3.5mm headphone jack. So yes, you can plug in your own headsets, whether that's a wireless headset with a dongle receiver or just a regular 3.5mm. It works great. I didn't have any lag or any input issues or anything like that with my gaming headset, but it also does have built-in speakers. Now, they are hard to see, but you might be able to see on camera here, there's a little slit down here, and it's on both sides, and those are actual speakers. And they work really well. They kind of remind me of the bone conducting speakers that we've seen the last few years on certain like sunglasses or whatever that have built-in speakers, where yes, if you're near the person, you can hear them, especially if the volume's really loud. But for the most part, for the person using the headset, it feels like they're in their ears. It's hard to explain again, but it works really well, and they're pretty decently loud. They just lack a little bit in the bass department. So if you want the overall best audio quality, you're going to want to use that 3.5mm headphone jack and use your own pair of headphones. Now, going to the other side, not really too much here. We have a power switch, which is you hold it down to turn it on, you hold it down to turn it off, all the same stuff. We have a little LED there showing power. And then going to the bottom, we have a little volume switch, which I haven't really personally used because you can change the volume in game as well. But if you ever want a physical way of doing it, just up and down right there, easy peasy. And then we have the inside of the lenses themselves. Now, my biggest gripe with the Quest 2, which thankfully I didn't have this issue at all, but I know a lot of people will, and that's why it's a gripe for me. There is only 3 different settings for the focal length of the actual eyepieces themselves. So what that means is VR headsets usually have, or they should at least, have a pretty articulate adjustment for your focal length. And so when you're actually putting on the headset, you want to make sure that those lenses are the correct distance between your eyes. Otherwise, you're not going to get the most clear image. For me personally, one of the 3 settings worked fine, but the fact that there's only 3 different settings, it's not going to work for most people, or at least not going to work for everybody. So I wish I would have gone back to the drawing board on that one. I feel like it wouldn't have costed them too much more money to make it a little bit more adjustable than just 3 predetermined settings. So keep that in mind, that if you do test out this device, I'd highly recommend either trying to find somebody who already owns one to get a fit for it on your head to know if it'll work properly for you, or go out to a market like Best Buy or something. They might have one on display that you could try out to see if the focal length will work before actually purchasing it, because some people it's probably not going to work and it's not going to have the best vision or image quality because of that weird focal length. It is nice. They did think about glasses though. If you do wear glasses, this actual, what do you call this? Like little face rest thing, it actually pops off pretty easily. You just literally pull it off and it comes right off just like that. And then you can actually put on a guard that lengthens or pushes it out more from the face, thus giving you enough room to have your glasses on while you're using VR. And it works pretty well. My wife uses glasses when she uses the VR, and she's never had an issue or felt like the glasses are rubbing on the lenses or anything like that. So that's pretty cool. But definitely a nice little innovation that doesn't cost any extra money. It's in the box, ready to go. So yeah, the only thing that was extra, or the accessory I'm using, is this battery pack / different headrest, because the one in the box has straps. It's a strap on the side, a strap on the top, and a strap on the other side and in the back. So not very comfortable, and it's a little bit cumbersome for first time use. So again, if you buy this accessory that is $100, it is a much nicer, fluider experience of putting it on for the first time. And of course, you get the extra battery life. Talking about battery life though, it doesn't last that long. I have to admit, it's not that amazing. It's even with the battery pack. Without the battery pack, I think it's rated for about 2 to 3 hours, which is pretty accurate. I'd say you get at least 2.5 hours on a single charge without the battery pack. With the added battery pack accessory, I could get maybe 4 hours. It's still not a whole lot more extra battery life, but it does get the job done, especially if you're just gonna have some fun in the game here and there, or show your family and friends some VR games. It'll work just fine. And personally, I probably wouldn't recommend playing VR for more than 4 hours at a time anyway. So for the most part, that extra battery pack is more than enough for what you need. You also can use the device, of course, plugged into a wall. It doesn't come with a cable that's long enough, in my opinion, to use it plugged in, but you can easily find them on Amazon, eBay, a USB-C to USB-A charging cable that I purchased for like $15 on Amazon. I'll have a link in the description below if you want to get it yourself. And it works great. We use it while charging all the time, and I've never had it die on me because it does charge while you're using it, which is pretty nice. And now talking about the game's usability and, the VR space itself, how does the quality of the screens look? Is it worth it in terms of $300? Because where are they cutting costs in order to bring that $300 price tag up, right? Honestly, the only places I could see where they cut costs is probably in the actual feel of the headset. It doesn't feel very expensive. It feels kind of like a cheaper plastic. It's very light. I will say that, especially even though there's technically a smartphone built into the front of it. That's how you can use it without a PC. So for what it is, it's very well engineered, and it's a VR headset, but I probably wouldn't trust this one falling from a maybe like 6-foot height onto the ground versus like the HTC Vive, which felt like a tank, or the original Rift that felt like a tank. Those ones I wouldn't mind too much falling over, but this one you feel like you want to be delicate with it. And I think that has to do with the materials. The next thing is the displays aren't amazing. I know there's better quality displays out there for VR, but these are 1832 by 1920. So basically 1080p screens on both sides. Very well done. I mean, for what they are, they look great, and they get the detail and everything you need in VR. You're not going to notice like individual pixels or anything like that, like I did with the PlayStation VR, for instance. That one you actually could see the individual pixels on the screen because the display resolution just wasn't that great. But 1080p is more than enough for what the human eye will be able to detect and use properly. It also supports up to 120 hertz for the refresh rate, which is great because you want at least 90 hertz so you don't get motion sickness. The PlayStation VR had a 60 hertz display, which, yeah, that ended up having a lot of issues down the road and causes me to even have some seasickness kind of feeling after a while, where never had that issue with this headset. So yeah, 90 hertz or 120 hertz displays with up to 120 frames per second games. I mean, you're not going to have any issues with motion sickness. At least you shouldn't for the most part. And the last thing I think they cut down costs on is it's no longer an OLED panel. They are LCD displays. Not a big deal, but OLED is definitely better in terms of its richness of colors and its clarity in general. So if that's a big deal to you, you might want to spend the extra money. Go with a bigger headset. But again, you're going to lose those wireless functionalities, and you're going to have to resort to using sensors all around your room, which is a huge hassle. So me personally, I would ditch any of that any day with a little bit less of a display, or a little less quality to the display, to use the Quest 2 to have that wireless functionality and to be able to play games without using a gaming PC. It's a win-win situation, in my opinion. Talking about that though, again, we have the ability to play games right on the headset itself. Now, you are going to find a better selection of games on the Steam VR page versus the Oculus Store, and it's kind of confusing because the Oculus Store on PC is different than the Oculus Store on the Quest 2. So it can be kind of cumbersome. So what I mean by that is I could purchase a game on here, like Beat Saber, for instance, or The Climb. I purchased that Oculus game and I can play it on the headset, no problem. But if I log into my Oculus account on my PC, it actually doesn't say that I own that game. And it would say I have to purchase it again because the PC version of the Oculus app is actually essentially made strictly for the Rift version of Oculus, or really any other headset out there. It's not meant for the Quest 2. Does it work with the Quest 2? Yes. So for me, I actually purchased some games back in the day when I had the original Rift, and I loved them and I loved the Rift, but I ended up selling it because I just didn't use it as much as I thought I would. And thus, those games are still on my account. And thankfully, because of the amazing wireless capabilities of this thing, you can link it to your PC to play games off your gaming PC right to the headset without any cables, without, again, any sensors, or really any hassle. The only thing you'll need is a pretty good connection. You'll need a wireless Wi-Fi 6 router. So if you don't have a newer router, I guess a Wi-Fi 6 router, you're going to have some issues. We actually had to upgrade our router once we got the Quest 2 because we only had a regular 802.11, which was from, like the 2010s up till 2020. And then the Wi-Fi 6 came out, and those are just above and beyond better for connectivity and for range and speeds, all of the above. So I highly recommend getting a Wi-Fi 6 router if you don't. But once you get that, you're not going to have any issues with connectivity with this thing, even through walls. So my gaming PC is in my office, and I normally use the VR out in the living room. It's going through 2 different walls to get there. I have yet to experience any lag, disconnects, you name it, with the Quest 2 using it wirelessly to my computer. There is some times here and there where the quality might dip down for a split second, where you'll notice a little bit of blurriness, or maybe just it feels like your graphic settings went from high down to medium. It's very rare, but it does happen from time to time, especially in high streaming games like Beat Saber, where there's a lot of fast moving things happening. But again, nothing to where I would feel alarmed or tell you it's not working or it's a terrible product. So if you have games on the Oculus Store on your PC, or if you have games from the Steam VR, yes, you can easily play them with the Quest 2. You don't necessarily have to have a HTC Vive or the Valve Index headset to play Steam VR games, which is amazing. And they run really great on the Quest 2. I didn't have any issues with the controllers being able to be picked up or anything like that. All the inputs seem to transfer without a hitch. You can even use programs like Live or Live, it's LIV, and you can look at Twitch chat and actually use it for live streaming, which is super cool, all through the Quest. If you'd like to see more videos and stuff like that, I will gladly make tutorials on how to set this stuff up in the future. If you would like more VR content, I will gladly talk about that and make those videos for you. But you have to let me know in the comment section below, and of course, leave a like to show your support. But all in all, gaming aside and VR aside, it's an amazing product and it works great. I literally have little to no complaints. The only complaints I had was a little bit with the battery life, and the 3 options for the focal length is a little bit of a bummer. So if they could have updated those, or maybe make a Quest 3, which I think they are coming out very soon, if they fix those issues and without changing the price, I would highly recommend going with the Quest 3. But for right now, the Quest 2, from where it is, for $299, is a hell of a deal, especially if you want to get into the VR space for the very first time. And of course, if you don't have a gaming PC that you want to shovel out all that money for on those games, because the Quest Store does have a lot of options. It really does. Is it going to have every VR game you've ever seen? No, of course not. The most VR titles are going to be on Steam VR, which will need a gaming PC to work. But you do get a lot of options with Quest VR games. There's a ton of great options there. And of course, a ton of free options. So you don't have to spend a ton of money after you've already gotten the headset. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching my quick overview / review of the Quest 2. And if you should go out and purchase it yourself, which again, I highly recommend you do. So subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and hopefully see you in the next one. Peace out.